part of the British Society of Criminology's Vulnerability Research Network at the BSc back in July. Now, due to obvious reasons and to delay no further, we are giving these papers today online. I am Sam Weston and I'll be chairing the panel, and I'm joined today by Laura Bridie, Kate Brown and Harriet Pierpoint. Hopefully we have Di Melkin coming as well as part of Staffordshire Police. So by way of introduction then, the concept of vulnerability has become a fast emerging area of criminal justice focus and demand. Yet the way in which vulnerabilities are identified, constructed and experienced has not really been sufficiently acknowledged. On the one hand, being described as a vulnerable person suggests a fragile identity who might be at risk of victimisation or harm, while on the other, vulnerability has been associated with those inclined to engage in risky behaviours. Vulnerability has also been referred to as a universal concept that is inherent in all people, and that we are all at one time or another vulnerable in some way. The emergence of COVID-19 has certainly helped to expose further how notions of precarity may be aligned to vulnerability, especially since new categories of vulnerability have emerged in relation to being clinical vulnerable to contracting COVID-19. However, some suggest that this view of vulnerability has rendered the concept so broad to obscure the needs of specific groups and individuals, undermining its promise as a conceptual frame to understand and challenge systemic inequalities, and also the structural conditions within which vulnerabilities emerge. Additionally, suggesting that vulnerability is universal makes it really difficult then to offer any specificity about what precisely institutions might do to better respond to vulnerability. And neither does this view of vulnerability consider the ways in which these institutions create and perpetuate vulnerabilities. It is also at this point that I'd like to remind ourselves of a quote by Ferretti about the term resilience. So he says, the absence of an agreed definition of resilience need not necessarily be a problem. It can often serve as a prelude to a debate that can lead to conceptual clarity. It is, however, a problem when such a widely used concept and policy objective is used in a taken for granted manner, since there is a danger that it will play the role of a cultural metaphor rather than an analytical concept. Now, vulnerability is at risk, of course, of becoming much like its conceptual cousins, resilience and risk, in that it all becomes such an overused concept and policy objective that it is applied then in a way that the social harms it seeks to expose become redefined as individual weaknesses. We then find ourselves in a situation where it's not quite clear what vulnerability means, beyond the simple assumption that it's not really very good to be vulnerable. And it ignores and overlooks, sort of ignoring and overlooking the fluid and multi-layered nature of the concept, potentially grants some populations, and importantly not others, special treatment in encounters with the criminal justice system in particular. Thus, those most likely to be victimised, the young, economically marginalised, ethnic minority males, are perhaps the least likely to be identified as vulnerable and then treated as such. Now, these are some of the questions that vulnerability scholars have been grappling with for many years. Yet, despite the issues highlighted here about the term, the criminal justice system has embraced it wholeheartedly and furthermore introduced an array of interventions to address so-called vulnerabilities. And the papers in this panel focus on some of these interventions. So to introduce the panel, we have 4 speakers, of which are all reflecting on how vulnerabilities are being addressed within the criminal justice system. We have, hopefully, if she can make it, Di Malkin from Staffordshire Police, who will be reflecting on her own practitioner experience and perspective of 2 strategies being employed by Staffs Police over the last 2 years, primarily revolving around early intervention and prevention techniques. We then have Laura Bridie, a PhD student from Keele University, who will talk to us about how the police are operationalising vulnerability, with specific attention being paid to some of her preliminary findings. We then have Dr Kate Brown from the University of York, who will set out how the police have negotiated their dual role in enforcing laws which position sex workers as offenders and responding to them as victims of crime. Drawing on empirical data into the role of sex work liaison officers, Kate shows how specialist policing can result in an improved access to justice, but warns that these types of techniques may also result in intensified social control for marginalised groups. Taking us again to the other side of the criminal justice system, we have Dr Harriet Pierpoint, who is drawing on data collected for an evaluation of homelessness services for young people leaving custody, and highlights specifically one of the challenges highlights the challenges of including vulnerable young people's voices in research, and suggested solutions for overcoming these challenges and the importance and benefits including young people's voices. So I'll hand over first of all then, given that Di hasn't made it in yet, to Laura Bridie.